Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
The women will take over.
Okay, I see that it's 3:03, so let's call to order this meeting of the Tree Advisory Committee on August 13, 2025. First, let's see. It looks like we have a quorum. I can't remember how many that is, but I think we have a quorum. Let me see. I guess the approval of the minutes from last time is the first thing we're supposed to look at.
Okay. I'll move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no, nay. Okay. You do or you don't?
You have to ask if there's any opposed. Yeah.
Right.
Can you put the green on while you're talking?
My green is on.
I don't.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I'm supposed to ask if there are any nays, so there weren't. The minutes from last time are approved. I'll ask next about public appearances for non-agenda items. I don't see anything along that line. As far as the agenda items go, there are two of them up there. I do want to mention two things that aren't appearing on the agenda, so I don't know if they should be added or we can just sneak them in. First of all, I was at the Common Council meeting last night, for part of it anyway, and I heard that there's some kind of proposal afoot to widen Irish Lane, and that would involve taking down a lot of trees. So although it sounds as though it's controversial and may not happen. So I would like to know about that. And then perhaps more importantly, the mayor sent out an email talking about the tree ordinance that Madison has. And their tree ordinance actually seems to have some teeth in it. They have I can't remember whether it's something that they already have in place or they want to do it in the future, but they are going to have protection zones around trees so you can't disturb that area. And then they want a street tree replacement fund. So, builders pay in and that pays for tree replacements. So I would like to know more about that. And Anna said that maybe she could work that in another part of our, like with the announcements or something. I don't know if it
So
needs.
I can talk about the medicine stuff under staff report because I did do a little bit of research on that. I don't know anything about Irish Lane, so I can't speak to that at all.
Okay. All right, then. I guess we'll continue with this agenda with the mayor's interesting discussion going into another part of the agenda. So I guess what we do is we call for a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Yes? Anyone want to move to approve?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as it is.
Second.
All in favor of approving tonight's agenda, say aye.
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 Any nays? No. Tonight's agenda is approved. And so let's proceed. First item on the agenda, the Urban Forest Strategic Management Plan.
Today.
Good, thanks.
And can you hear me okay? So I have 3 tasks. First, in your packet, you probably saw some insight of some of the data analysis we've been doing. One was the tree canopy assessment. Did you get a chance to? Yeah, it's very encouraging. It doesn't surprise me the amount of cover you have in Fitchburg. It's a green city, and I'll talk a little bit about the survey, which people are very supportive of trees in Fitchburg. So those two go hand in hand. Another thing I want to chat about, and I talked with Ann about this, is just do some brainstorming on vision for forestry in Fitchburg. And that wasn't on the agenda. That was just, as kind of a prelude to doing some open forum engagement in September with community members. And we're going to invite actually some of you, if not all of you, want to be part of that activity. And then the third is actually just show a few survey results. And more so actually to show some questions that we asked about active management of woodlots in Fitchburg, similar to 10 years ago where you had policy development through ordinances for tree preservation, and to engage people to see if they're supportive. So just to actually show the information that, yeah, actually with the survey responses we have so far, which is close to about 250 people, people are very, very supportive of active management. And so the first thing, I was actually trying to pull up my tree canopy assessment, and I cannot find my file, which, I guess just verbally, it was in your packet. It was just to demonstrate that you have a healthy canopy. But the nice thing is it hasn't really gone down. It actually is statistically slightly gone up from assessment we did from 2014. So we had 3 time periods: 2014, 2018, and 2024. And I discovered actually. Do you have it?
I pulled it up, Rich. So they're seeing the tree canopy percentage.
Yeah.
From 13 is 18.8, 18 is 23.8, and 24 is 24.7.
Yeah, which is pretty nice. So your tree population is growing, and I can probably suggest one reason for it. It's active planting of trees in parks and other public parcels, along with certainly some of the ordinances you have on the books for active planting through development. And those are all paying dividends. And so thank you for pulling that up. So the next part, I'll just briefly show you the survey. And thank you very much for your past involvement with helping with reviewing the questionnaire. That was very insightful. There was a few questions that were awesome, where some insight was, rather than just asking people, tell me about benefits, just limit to the top 3. And I think usually people, from my past experiences, they usually don't go beyond 3, but actually just giving that guidance to people. It's like, you don't have to worry about this. 3's not a heavy lift. If you want to give 1, awesome. But that was helpful, along with a few other ones. And I have to give a lot of credit to Anna and Tierney for helping actually promote this throughout the community. And so I don't know if you saw one of these flyers at various parks. Anyone? Yeah, awesome. And so I can tell you, I've done enough survey work in my life, and promotion is such an important part, engaging people to let them know how they can respond. And I have to also give a shout out to my daughter, who she's a graphic arts person, so I can just say, Emily, you want to create, and I'm paying her, by the way, to do it, because that's just what you do, right? But yeah, she created this, so it was a proud dad moment. But anyways, QR codes where they can, just click with their phone, and I think that's been a helpful part. But often you promote a survey and you get response, it starts going downward. It's just been constant, like 10 a day, which I think part of it is this thing's out there. And tonight also we're going to be promoting it at the city night out.
Community night out.
Community night out, thank you. And sorry for that little verbal faux pas. But we've got a little postcard on the backside, the same thing, so people, they stop by the booth, or some active management of just engaging people. Hey, do you know about a strategic urban forest plan in Fitchburg? And you can get engaged with it. So we've got this other device to help with promotion. And we're going to actually close it on the 15th of August, and I'm going to let it go for another 2 weeks through the end of August. And I'm not in a rush to get it done and then start analyzing data. So we're going to let it go for another couple weeks. I don't know if we'll top the 400 plus responses from a few years ago, 10 years ago, 2015. I'm pretty certain we'll top 300, and I was hoping statistically to get at least over 200, and we've surpassed that. So and I also got another way of looking at, is there like survey bias? Because if you have a small response rate, you can get a bias sometimes of the active people are the first ones to respond. Either they like or don't like something. And they're not, so I can always look at like the latter end of responses, let's say the last 10%, and do they statistically differ from the initial set of people? And if you find out you have no difference, then you feel more comfortable that it's more reflective. One thing right now, the responses tend to be skewed more to older people and to white population, okay? And that doesn't necessarily mean the results are biased. It's just that's the demographic. If I look at the respondents right now compared to demographics from 2020 from the U.S. Census. So those are other things we look at. Yes?
I have a question. So, tonight, are you there, or is Anna?
Yeah, no, I'm going to be there.
Okay.
And actually tomorrow also there's another community event that I'm going to participate, which the Hispanic community, we're at way lower than the population in Fitchburg would suggest. Mm-hmm. And so actually tomorrow night, I wasn't planning on being here, but that's a night that actually we can target that population. So to me, it was too important not to, just hang out here tonight, tomorrow, and then go to that event.
Yeah, it's the Southdale Resource Fair is what we're going to tomorrow afternoon. I think it's 3 to 7 or something like that. It's in Southdale Park. So, and I've got plenty of printed surveys to have available, and then we'll have the postcards and et cetera. So hopefully it'll give folks a opportunity to participate if they'd like.
I'm not sure if you can actually, on your screen, do you see my survey right now?
Yeah.
Awesome. So you're seeing behind the curtain of Oz, and so people click on the QR code and it actually goes to this, it's just a Microsoft Forms. It's not that complicated, but it takes a little time to set one up. But all I wanted to show was that one question, just to give you an idea of the support right now that people are showing. And I look on this, not on a daily basis, but regularly, because I just like nerding out on stuff like this. It's been kind of holding kind of consistent when I look at things, the percentages, for example, this question right here. Compared to most other neighborhoods in the city of Fitchburg, my neighborhood has mostly the same amount or more trees than others, okay? So, but what I wanted to show was question 25, which got at which of the following statements closely represents your opinion about managing trees in public park and woodlots? And if you look, 80% of the people removing invasive shrubs and replacing them with native trees and shrubs are supportive of that. And the other 15%, removing invasive species. So what does that suggest to me as a manager? That people are supportive of active management. If they weren't, they'd probably more likely give something like allow the trees and shrubs to grow with a little or no management. And that's not the case. That's a small percentage, which is probably right here, 2%. And so 98% are suggesting something active. The ones that actually say other, I took a look at that just earlier here today, and they are supportive of active management, and they actually give some guidance. One that was pretty insightful, rather than having like one plan for all parks, actually having a plan that's adapted for the ecosystem. So So if it's an oak savanna, it makes sense. If it's some other type of, maybe it's a mesic forest, so adapting to what perhaps the pre-existing vegetation of a location would support. So I thought that was pretty neat. Any questions so far? I didn't want to dwell much on the survey results. And you'll see this will be part of the strategic plan as probably an appendix. And then we'll bring out some cool highlights. No? So would you want to spend about 5 minutes just chatting about, vision, and I'll just take some notes, and maybe a winning vision statement for forestry in Fitchburg. But it was just, it was one of these things talking with Anna today when we did a SWOT analysis. If you're not familiar with that, it's strengths, weaknesses, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so like the strengths and weaknesses are internal things for like City of Fitchburg. The other part, the opportunities and threats, they can be internal, but maybe a different department, or it could be external, such as maybe a grant through some sort of entity like the DNR. So we've done that with actually 4 different groups now, and I'm pretty comfortable with the results with that of providing some guidance for planning. But a vision statement, which certainly feeds into like goals and objectives, which is another important part of this plan. So I just opened up the floor, I guess, for if you think about trees in the city of Fitchburg and you had to develop a vision statement, vision statements, the fewer words, the better. Actually, there's some vision statements that 3 words. Like if I was like feeding the world, forget which international nonprofit that's their vision statement, but feeding the world, 3 words. That's their vision statement. So just open up. If you think of trees and you had to develop a vision statement, and I suppose for me, I could start from left to right. I guess it'd be right to left in the room here tonight. And you can pass.
I won't pass, but these are things that people spend a long time thinking about, and I don't know if we were supposed to be prepared for
No,
this or
not at all. This was just on the fly, just
It's
brainstorming, yeah.
really important opportunity, though, so I take it very seriously.
I know you do.
Yeah. I can't think about tree canopy without thinking planting, preservation, maintenance. We talked about a lot of things connected with that. We talked about development. Newest thing is ATC, and I know that's something that we ever touch it.
Bumping your button.
Up and down. Oh, got it. Thank you. That's how I drive the car. Anyway. So I've also thought a lot about the fact that we don't have a specified fund for new plantings. So Anna has done incredible work in getting new plantings in this city, and I think that's why the results are what they are about developing the canopy. But I know that new trees take typically some extra maintenance, and we have nothing really to designate in that funds. I think we're bare bones staff, and maybe that's part of it. I'm certain it is. So I always have concern for that, for protecting our investment. I would like to see our policies expand in terms of tree preservation. And I know things have improved a lot, and I'm really impressed with the staff for doing that. But I'd like to see more of that, like in city policy, minimally, and then look at what other cities might have in expanding preservation in general. Those are things at the top of my head.
Awesome.
And the match with the ecosystem and what will best match a site for plantings, including native grasses, makes a lot of sense to me, and I think that's been the direction we've been going. I'd like to see that solidified.
If I can just jump in really quick here, Linda. I know in the past you've talked about the 3-legged stool of staff, elected officials, and volunteers really moving things forward. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I don't know if you want to elaborate any more on that comment. And if not, that's fine. I don't mean to.
Well,
So I like that, the 3-legged stool of staff, elected officials, and the third? Volunteers?
That's what you're talking
Volunteers.
about. Yeah. In terms of policy changes?
Well, in terms of moving things forward, yeah.
Well, so I'm not quite. Well, what I've observed in terms of making change, I don't know if that's what you're asking or not.
Yes.
What I have realized is absolutely true is that there are 3 bodies that are really important. The representative officials, the hired professionals and city staff, and then the volunteers in the committees and which is us on the committee. That those 3 bodies of people are essential in making positive change or making any change. That not one of those areas is where it occurs, but it takes all 3.
I like that.
Thank you.
Moving on over.
Well, I'm never
If you-
over. I can be done for now.
I just thought, I heard a pause of like, okay, next.
I was
We always come
referencing
back
my
to the
memory banks.
beginning.
All right, let me just think a minute and go on.
I don't know, I want to, you said 3 words at the beginning. Planting,
Preservation and maintenance.
okay. I just thought if we could have 3 P words maybe. Or maybe planning, planting, preservation. Preservation would encompass maintenance. Just a thought. Just a thought.
When I think of preservation, I think of preserving, I mean, it can encompass a lot. I think of preserving, putting a value in preserving the well-established trees we have when we're looking at expanding a use in an area, upgrading areas. It has to include not just new building development, but it has to include recreational paths and new bike lanes and improving transportation. And I see us losing a lot of trees there. So when I think of preservation, I think of those things. I'm sorry, maintenance doesn't start with a P. I don't know. But that does include things like staking the new trees when they are planted, pruning trees at 3 years, maybe 5 years, at certain times of the year. I know we do some of that, which is fantastic. But that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know much about making vision statements, so I'm not sure how high level of vision you're looking for. But the way I see it, the overall idea is that we want to promote the health of the people who live here and the ecosystem by maximizing the tree canopy. Now, of course, there's, a lot of limitations on that. I mean, we also want to allow building and so forth, which is going to, conflict with our desire to promote tree canopy. And we obviously would prefer to have native trees rather than invasive trees. So, you can nitpick all you want, but I think if what you want is the highest level of what we're trying to accomplish, that would be it.
Yeah, here's what I heard. I heard promoting the health of people in plants by maximizing tree canopy.
Yeah, healthy people and healthy ecosystems by promoting tree canopy.
Well, maybe our 3 Ps are plant, promote, preserve.
That may cover it all. Because promote could be, I think, and promote the growth, promote the health of people, the tree, and the ecosystem. Yeah. I like it.
Move on.
The good thing about being at the end of the line, they all said it. So I agree with them. I agree with everybody's comments.
I'm going to come back to the front if you had any more insight.
All I could think of when you were saying 3 words, sort of the focus of what we do and how we do it is growing healthy trees, which is kind of easy to visualize for others if you're sharing it out with the public.
Awesome. Now I'm going to come to the end. Put Anna and Tierney on the spot.
Well, I think, just if we're going to kind of be clever and use our 3 Ps, I think it's, plant trees, promote tree health, and maybe, tree and human health or something, work the humanity angle into that, and preserve trees and ecosystems for, all of the reasons that we do that. I think you could kind of, I'm not being very eloquent, but I think you can kind of break it down into those 3 kind of categories and have nice little catchphrases for each one in regard to planting trees that would result in, healthy ecosystems and healthy people, healthy neighborhoods.
It is about healthy neighborhoods and healthy ecosystems throughout the city.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
I don't want to put us down a rabbit hole, but I do think it would be good to maybe even workshop, right, like what we're promoting. And I think the other thing that comes top of the mind to me, and Rich and other folks here have alluded to, are we returning the landscape to what it was? And are we adapting? And I do think that, adaptation, I think kind of more broad scale is something that comes to mind for me, right? Kind of adapting with the city, adapting with the people, city's goals, people's goals, and also the environment. And so I think maybe I'm getting a little too far ahead of said mission statement, but I do think it'd be good to kind of think about, maybe it's like promoting the future at the same time, and how do trees and our canopy kind of fit into that, and kind of imagining what the landscape might be moving towards. So, not to like throw a wedge in things or caveats, but I do think that might be something good to consider as we might be workshopping a vision statement too.
I like that idea because I think some people have this concept that trees are what we used to have, but now in this modern environment, we have other needs. And of course, we know the problem is we can't meet any other needs without including the past. But that is forward thinking. I like that idea.
Well, exceeds my expectations. I wasn't looking for, all right, we've got our 3-word or 7-word vision statement, but more so actually just to capture some ideas from you all. And it was put you on an awkward, uncomfortable situation because you had no pre-warning, and this was just spontaneous after I did a SWOT analysis with Anna this afternoon. And I was like, here's what I'm thinking about the agenda, and then somehow I'm like, chatting the vision statements are important because they feed into then the goals and objectives, and then our plan is actually to link then existing community goals and objectives and other plans. And your comprehensive plan in the city, I think, is really good. And so why reinvent the wheel? Incorporating these other plans, this is incorporated in other plans. So this is just really a first step of that end goal that, late October, early November-ish is where we have a draft plan for y'all to look at.
So, Rich, if people think of things tonight, tomorrow morning, just email, right?
Definitely, yeah. And so the nice thing is thinking ahead to September, because what I could do is actually from your words here is there's a few statements, like I really like this one, maybe it's the winner. Plant, promote health of people and ecosystems by promoting tree canopy. Maybe that's it. Then I heard, imagining the future, and I heard, linking to the past. Growing healthy trees. So I'll just put these down and share them with you. But again, thinking ahead in a month from now, where get a select group of 8 to 12 people to really think about a vision. Your work tonight was important to lead us in that direction. So, and that's all I have.
Well,
but open up to any questions you have for me.
Okay.
So
If there are no other questions, I guess, oh, sure, go ahead.
We just threw on our 2 cents about as I was thinking about the plan in general. What I'm hoping that the outcome will be is something that it's easy for all departments to use as well. That how we lose trees often is when we start thinking in a silo. So, and I like when we talked about having these goals across every part of the city. So, like if there's industrial area, then we still should be thinking about trees there. We should be thinking about trees everywhere. So, and in all of the activities and responsibilities and duties across the staff, city staff, trees should all be part of it.
And so we just had another member join us, so I wonder if we could get his take on it as well.
All right. So it was Ben, right? Craig. Okay, I'm sorry.
No worries.
As I like to say, I'm the worst with remembering names. Craig, right? Awesome. So we're just, I gave an update of the survey. We got nearly 250 responses, and I think we'll hit 300. Don't know if we'll surpass what was done in 2015. There's a lot of surveys these days, and people get fatigued from every day being asked to do things. And then I gave an update on the tree canopy assessment. Chatted about that. That was in your packet. And then your tree canopy is growing compared to where it was a little over 10 years ago. And then the next part is chatting about vision statement. And so putting you on the spot, if you had to create a vision statement, some are 3 words, some are 7s. I was part of a State Department of Agriculture where our vision statement was 2 pages. That's not a vision statement. That was yeah. I won't get those 2 days back, but if you had to create a vision statement for urban forestry in Fitchburg, any ideas that come to mind? And that's okay if you don't.
Nothing off the top of my head.
Okay.
I'll have to see if something pops in soon.
Well, I'll just give you a synopsis. There's the 3 Ps, like planting, preserving, planning, or then it came into plant trees, promote people, health of people and plants or ecosystems, and then preserve trees and ecosystems.
So Rich, can you just give us a little bit of an overview moving forward, what the process is? So basically right now the survey's out, we have 200 plus responses, we're going to get more. Just can you maybe give us a little bit of a brief outline of the next couple months and what we should be thinking about?
Sure. Basically, we're fact-finding right now, taking information like your tree canopy, your tree inventory. You have a pretty healthy tree population, especially from a diversity perspective. A lot of cool plants have been planted, so you don't have an overabundance of any one species or genus. So you're actually sitting on the good end of tree populations, where I've seen some dominated by, the top 6 trees account for over 60%. You're not there. Your top 6 trees account for about a little less than 30%, which is awesome. And that the community engagement part, that really tells us about the things people like and dislike about trees, and then getting at some policy questions such as, is active management of woodlots supported? Have some questions in there like trees and sidewalks. Sidewalks, and doesn't surprise me because you told me this, it's a very diverse issue. People either like sidewalks on both sides or they don't. Okay, and there's a few in the middle, but but the next steps is taking this information along with community engagement, and then looking at existing plans, and then developing along with you all of what our recommendations are based on things like how do you compare staffing to other locations. So if we find out you've got limitations, maybe a recommendation is to identify a budget for staffing, and then that would be a goal, and then that goal is maybe assigned to maybe the tree advisory committee. You take an active role in it, or maybe another committee, or maybe a part of the city of Fitchburg, maybe the public works director, or identifying who takes the leadership of these action items. So.
Thank you.
You bet.
I have a question. I live in a neighborhood with no sidewalks. Mm-hmm. And I won't say how I feel about that one way or the other. But when you talk about street trees, we don't have any. I think street trees there's a curb, there's some trees, and there's a sidewalk. We don't have that. So it was hard for me to answer some of those questions because we just don't have street trees in our whole subdivision, I don't think.
So I guess there is right-of-way. So between the private property and the road, there is a space that is, I think people, mow it and things of that nature. But there's a space where trees could be planted in the right-of-way, and that is public property, and we could plant public trees there. And in your neighborhood, we have done a little bit of that, but not a lot, because we don't know if there ever will be a sidewalk, so we don't want to have a conflict there moving forward. So there are what we would call right-of-way trees in your neighborhood that are trees that are on that public property that there is no sidewalk delineating it, but there is what we would call right-of-way or public property where there are trees planted.
But
I think what I'm hearing in this questionnaire, the survey, there's a question that defines street trees as a tree between the curb and the sidewalk. And that may have led to some confusion, perhaps, if you don't have a sidewalk. Okay,
I
maybe
just
not.
know that,
That's a good question.
could I call and say, I want some street trees on my block?
Sure.
I really don't, but, I'm pretty
can
close
call.
I'm probably in the right-of-way with a lot of my stuff anyway, and I'll probably have to move it if we ever get sidewalks. But, okay.
Anna, is that about 10 feet in from the curb? Is that what it usually is?
It's from the middle of the street, they measure.
Typically, and I'm going to get a little bit in trouble here because I'm going to talk in generalities, but generally speaking, a road right-of-way is 66 feet. Generally speaking, the road is centered on the right-of-way, not always, but generally. So 33 from the center line to the, from the center line, 33 feet, that tends to be the public property. And like I say, we have planted trees in neighborhoods that don't have sidewalks in that area. We just walk a little bit of a fine line because if a sidewalk does show up, we might be signing ourselves up for a conflict. So I hope that answers the question.
Well, I think in addition to that too, a lot of the established trees that have been in those neighborhoods for a very long time, like having even just citing out planting locations between utilities, existing trees planted on people's homes, it really kind of narrows down the plantability in those spaces too, so.
I have a question, actually, maybe for Anna, but for both of you, so that whole question about when you stated, like, people are kind of split about whether they want sidewalks on both sides or not, or do they want a sidewalk and a recreational path or whatever. So when people are asked to make those decisions, so I'm talking about more than the survey, probably, are they aware of how many trees will go down based on the decision they make, or how limited the space for planting new trees based on the decision that's made? Because it seems to me like that should be part of the decision, and I feel like now it is not, that we have a lot of missed opportunities sometimes for preservation and good planting sites when we don't include that in the decision making.
No, I agree, and I think that in itself is a plan. We're asking about, the mobility of people through different ways. One is certainly sidewalks. Is that in itself, it's like the pros and cons and as you all point out here, is if you don't, and as Anna pointed out, if there's not a sidewalk, there may not be a tree because of the potential conflict you're not wanting to set up for. And doesn't surprise me, but I haven't heard that until tonight, that could be one of the limitations of not having a sidewalk is limitation of a tree to avoid future conflict, which is a good management outcome, but not for canopy. So just on the sidewalk alone, or I would do it more as a public mobility, bike paths, sidewalks, etc. is all have an impact on forestry. But that in itself it's outside of the scope, but I'm glad you brought it up because it actually it's insightful that somehow can incorporate into what we're doing to link into these other types of plans if they exist or if not, that could.
I think you bring up an excellent point, Linda, and I would say that in order to have the trees as part of the site plan and as part of the decision-making process, that takes advocacy, and I think that's what this group has really been good at. And I think you bring up an excellent point that if you do want the trees to be considered, they have to be. There's got to be some at the table that's that's doing that. That's bringing up the fact that, hey, you know, we do need a tree survey here because where we're proposing this bike path, there are, you know, it's a heavily wooded area or whatever the case may be. So I think you bring up an excellent point, and it does take advocacy to make that happen. And it takes advocacy to make that as policy.
And then before that was the silo effect, and really getting at the heart of the question on sidewalks, trees, and conflicts. Is the plan isn't going to be a silo plan. Our goal is to have it incorporated in other things, so it's a useful plan. And yeah.
I really believe people are very resourceful and creative, and I think that a lot of times when proposals are developed, that we can accommodate for most all of those things. Mm-hmm. And I also believe that a lot of times people would be willing to give up, like maybe double sidewalks, if it meant, you know, a substantial contribution to the, you know, tree canopy and ecosystems.
And I think it just takes the advocacy to bring those to light. Absolutely.
Anna, do you, in terms of outcomes, so it's something we could possibly incorporate into this strategic plan, is that correct? If part of our vision is to, you know, preserve and promote, restore.
If that's what comes out through the public input, yeah.
Okay, all right. And if it does, if the public is supportive of that, then how would it look next? Could it be part of a formal policy with the city?
Yes, yeah. So basically how these sorts of things work, and why I'm really grateful that we're going through this process, and I really appreciate this conversation, and I appreciate Rich coming here and doing all the work that he's been doing and putting together a survey and talking to all the operations people and everything, is that if you have a plan that says, hey, you need a policy for how you handle road expansions and trees, well, then you have a reason to write the policy. Do you know what I mean? So the policy is going to be spelled in the plan, but it will be like, hey, you need to develop a policy on this, that, the other thing, because you don't have it right now, and it's something that you need that's because it's impacting your forestry program.
Yeah, I didn't mention this earlier, but the question was the outcomes. Outcomes are metrics, and that's actually part of this plan also. Is, for example, it could be trees and development, and then a metric could be is like for every site plan, did they go through the proper process? Or were there trees that were removed illegally? Or if tree diversity, if the goal is to have no more than any species at 5%, are there any species exceeding that? So that's an outcome that you can, or tree canopy, our goal is to have 37% for whatever reason. And if we're at 24%, are we moving to that direction? And if we give ourselves a 10-year goal? So yes, there will be an outcome-based plan. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sounds very efficient. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would say please stay engaged in the process and you know, make sure that these kinds of things get incorporated.
Well, that was a long 5 minutes, but a valuable, in my opinion, valuable use of 30 minutes of our time.
Okay, sounds like we're ready to move on to the next agenda item, which is the Million Trees Grant Report.
Yes, and I would just, before we move on, I would just say if everyone could please, if you haven't taken the survey, please do that, and please send it back out to your contacts if you have email lists or people that you're in contact with, your neighborhood next door, your neighborhood Facebook. Please plug it again so we can pick up any stragglers or folks who saw it, thought, I want to do that, got busy, went on vacation, whatever the case may be. If we can just, you know, get that word out again, that would really be much appreciated. We've got 200 and some responses, which would be great. It'd be nice to get to that 400 and change that we had in 2015. So before we move on, I just want to just plug that one more time.
I did the star take. I got that info to that guy like a month ago, and they must have had a vacation, because it just came out in the Star that we got on Friday.
Yeah, that's
There's
fine.
a little thing about the tree survey, so that might.
Thank you for doing that.
Might get somewhere, but I thought it was going to come out a lot sooner than it did. So.
Well, it's great because now and the survey will be open until September 1, so perfect. So.
In the Star it says it's only open until.
You know, that's okay. People will put their foot on the gas then. Okay. So, yes, thank you for doing that, Sue. Yeah. So, moving on to the Million Trees Grant Report. So, if you recall, I think it was about a year ago, this body wrote a letter of support for a grant for the Million Trees project to plant trees in Chicory Meadows Park. And Tierney was nice enough to put together some maps for us that kind of illustrate where those trees got planted. They were planted for Earth Day, which was April 22nd. They were planted in Chicory Meadows Park with an idea toward, they were all native trees, and the idea is wildlife habitat, a little bit of shade on the path to make it more efficient for biking and for walking and things like that. And many of you are aware that in Chicory Meadows, there's a group of volunteers there doing a lot of invasive clearing and planting native plants and things of that nature. So this is a photo of the trees that are kind of in what used to be honeysuckle heaven, and now is they've cleared it all out, and we've got our there are most of the canopy trees that you see here. There is a couple of oaks, there's a couple of hackberries, and there's a few walnuts in that area that are existing, and we've supplemented that with with the species that you see here, and we're trying to get just a nice diversity of native species here in Chicory Meadows. We also have trees along that path. One had died, so replaced that one. And then we also continued the plantings on the, I guess this would be moving east. And this is the path that goes, this is the Cap City Trail that it goes down. This is the Cap City Trail and hooks up with a Cannonball. So this is uphill of where it hooks up with a Cannonball. And so we've been planting trees along that path to shade the path for easier bike commuting and things in the summer months and nicer places to recreate. So I just wanted to give you guys this grant report. Thank you very much for your support in this grant. And hopefully we will have additional successful grant opportunities in the future. And it did take a committee of volunteers to do this, and a few of you serve on that committee, and I really appreciate your time doing that. And are there any questions or concerns before we turn this in to Alliant Energy as our grant report?
I just have a comment that that's an area I go by all the time, and that bike path, so access it like through, is that Edenbury? Longford. Anyway,
yeah, Longford,
it was, and that is a place I see a lot of pollinators.
Yes.
And butterflies.
Yes.
So in terms of supporting the ecosystem, and then you have some uncut, longer prairie grasses there,
Yes.
but also even those little yellow grasses that are amongst the cut grass, I see lots of bees on those.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you for this and for everything else in that area.
Oh, of course, yeah. Thanks for supporting it. Yeah, really appreciate that. So let's see if we. So if there aren't any questions, we can move on to report from department if you are interested. I guess my report didn't make it into the packet, so I'll have to email that to you. Basically, the big highlights from staff report are we've been updating the tree inventory, and I'm really grateful to have Tierney on board. She's been very instrumental with that. We also got a Trimble handheld GPS, which is lovely because we can actually go out in the field and accurately get points, and it updates the tree inventory in real time as we're doing it. So instead, in the past, we had to kind of like figure ourselves out, figure out what we want to do, go back to the office, change things around. And in that process, there's just a lot of room for error. And now we can do it right in the field, which is awesome. So we've been out updating primarily the ash layer and making sure that we know exactly where all of our ash trees are and also just we've gotten most of the tree replacements that we did a pretty big tree planting this spring in Southdale. We have all of that in the inventory, which is great. We were able to take out all the old ash trees that are no longer in that neighborhood, et cetera, et cetera. So one big staff highlight is updating the tree inventory. Another one is we have fall planting out to bid. We're planting trees in our parks this fall. We will finish replacing ash trees. So after this fall, all of the ash trees that we have taken out of our parks have been replaced, and we've added quite a few additional. We've taken the opportunity to plant quite a few additional trees as well. So if you see trees going in parks this fall, that is ash replacements, and we will have at least one front of the EAB situation covered, I guess you could say, or just is no longer a concern, because we have one more ash tree in McGaw Park that hopefully will come down this winter, and it will be replaced before it's removed, because that's just sometimes how things work. But so after this fall planting and after this winter, we'll have no more ash trees in parks. They have all been replaced, and we are well on our way to a really healthy canopy with. As we took those ash trees down, we replaced them with a whole diversity of different trees. We tried lots of different things, so you'll see all kinds of different kinds of trees in our parks, and some of those trees are growing pretty fast. So while we did lose a lot of canopy through our emerald ash issues, it's really encouraging to see those new trees take over and grow and really replace that canopy, which is great. So. I guess another thing that someone asked me about is we did have a meeting on the Kyle Seeger Greenway. There is a designer working on the site plan. I think we kind of have agreed, or I think we have an idea of what that's going to be. We did mow it. The city did mow that area. The weeds and other invasives were growing back. And since the plan is to eventually put that back into prairie, and the city doesn't want weeds there, we went ahead and mowed it, and we're waiting for a donation. They do want to have a consultant go in and do some weed treatments and prep that area for seeding. And when we get that donation in, we can hire that consultant to do that. But as I have said, the budget is the amount of the budget is the amount of the donation. So we're still kind of waiting for that donation to see kind of how that shakes out. And there should be a final site plan for that at some point that I think will come ahead of maybe you guys, maybe Park Commission. I'm not really sure, but that's definitely forthcoming at some point. Other things from the staff report that you wanted mentioned, I have been in contact with the City of Madison forestry staff in regard to the ordinance that they have put together. It's a nice upgrade for their tree protection situation. It does add some fines that then fund a tree replacement fund, which is great. It's in the referral process, so it's going through committees right now, and I believe either next week or the week after is the final council action. And when we know what they are actually going to do, I think we should have it on our agenda to look at what their final product was and talk about, is there applicability to Fitchburg or not, or what, or kind of where we're at with things. So that is one thing I looked into. And other things that are going on, we have been really looking hard at new developments and trying to get our inventory updated. And also at this point, we've spent most of the developer deposits for those new developments, and it's time to kind of go back in with operating funds and figure out, capture additional planting spaces. So we're looking pretty hard at that and kind of what that looks like now that we know where all the lights are going to be, all the mailboxes, most of the driveways, that kind of stuff. So that's something that we'll be working on this winter into the spring. And last but not least, we did go to the Wisconsin Arborist Association summer conference, which was a great conference, and we heard all kinds of great talks about a whole variety of urban forestry topics. So in conclusion, I don't know anything about the Irish Lane project at all. I can't speak to that because I don't have any information, and I am not prepared to. I haven't done any research on it, so I don't know.
How would we get more information on that project if it actually is something that's being discussed?
Who presented it at council?
That's a good question. Yeah, it was just presented to council as, something that they had to vote on. And it sounded as though maybe some parts of it were going to go forward and then other parts weren't. So, yeah, I don't really know. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I don't either.
There was one person, a citizen, who got up and spoke very insistently about how opposed they were to the widening of Irish Lane. They just wanted it to be paved and forget about the widening, which would remove a lot of trees. So that's where I'm getting my information from.
Yeah. So it sounds like maybe it was Public Works or Board of Public Works.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea how the city works. So if I wanted more information, maybe call City Hall, maybe call Department of Public Works.
I would
think.
suggest that, yeah. That would be
Okay.
good. That would be a good place to start.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. And I will email you the report that, for whatever reason, is not in the packet. I think I wrestled with the software that makes these packets for quite a while, and I finally put in a help desk ticket. And I mean, it ended up being fine, but there was some glitches that I couldn't have fixed myself. So anyway. Oh, thank you, Tierney. Yes, okay. Thank you. So yes, another big thing that's happening. Thank you, Tierney, for reminding me. We are working with Urban Trail Alliance again this fall, and we'll be doing a canopy renovation of Maple Lawn Heights, which is the North Fish Hatchery Road neighborhood between, it's like Pike Drive to Greenway Cross. So kind of up there where there's, up on Fish Hatch, I believe there's a Starbucks and a bank and things. It's the neighborhood kind of behind that strip mall, or that bank of businesses, or whatever you want to call it. So we will be working with them. They'll be putting, I think, how many? Almost 40 trees in there, something of that nature. So yeah, thank you for the reminder, Journey. And yes, so that is something that it will be happening here this fall as well. We've got all the locations spec'd out and the species spec'd out, and they will come with Operation Fresh Start and get those trees planted. They're also going to finish Traceway and put 10 additional trees on Traceway. So Traceway will be finished. There was so much construction on Traceway last summer with the hub and everything else going on. We only did trees up to the hub construction because there was too much coming and going and too many big trucks, and it just didn't make a lot of sense then to also throw Operation Fresh Start in there to plant trees. So they're going to do the last 10 trees on Traceway that didn't get planted last spring as well.
I have a couple questions. So when you're doing a project like that, who becomes part of the decision making in regards to where you put the trees and how many trees? Are you allowed to just kind of figure that out on your own, or do you have to? Are the landowners involved, and are the property owners involved at all in that?
We pretty much just figure it out, and we pack as many in as we can, and we just put the most appropriate species of tree for that spot.
That's good. Yeah.
So we run around with our. In this case, we had the trimble, which was kind of cool, and so we run with the trimble and pick the different spots, and we paint the curb, and spec out the trees that we want to be planted there. So it's something that we do it's a staff decision typically. And
it's a professional service you provide, and it's not
right. And if someone says, "Hey, I would like X, Y, Z," if it makes sense, we'll honor that. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. The other question I had is just a comment about Operation Fresh Start, because I know they also watered trees that we planted early in the year. How has that worked out?
I think well. I mean, I think we lost one tree that they planted, and they replaced it. So I think they did a pretty good job. Those trees are all in place. They look fine. We did lose, I think, one, which they replaced, but they look great. I mean, overall, so we can't really complain. And that was all paid for with grant money. None of that came from city funds. So I think it was a very successful project.
And those young adults are from the joint school county program. I think that's a wonderful way to dovetail benefits the health of the community as well as the ecosystem.
Yeah,
so, thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I think it turned out quite well. Any other questions for staff report? I'm probably missing a few things, but.
Okay, if there aren't questions about the department report, are there any announcements that weren't already covered? Okay, I guess there aren't any announcements.
Well, our next meeting.
Oh, good point.
Is. It looks like our next meeting is September 11th, and it will be our normal time and our normal place.
Okay, thank you. I guess if there are no other announcements, we can look to adjourn if anyone wants to make a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion to adjourn has been made and seconded. All those in favor of adjournment say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? No. Okay, we're adjourning the meeting at 4:01. Thanks, everybody.